You're so critical of Sajid and the SJB. Do you have regrets leaving the UNP and joining the SJB?
Well, I'm one of the main people. I would say I'm still SJB because I own most part of what SJB was formed for. Whether you like it or not, you can be in your house and keep crying and say, oh, that's wrong, this is wrong, or you either go there and fight it.
So what happens to your political future?
Well, as I said, I want to work only till about August.
Hello and welcome to another episode of On Fire here on Daily Mirror. I'm Easwaran Rutnam. The tourism industry is on the up. There have been some improvements since the country faced a crisis. And the man handling the tourism industry is with me today, Tourism Minister Harin Fernando. Welcome to the program, Minister.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So what exactly is the status right now with the industry?
Well, I think Sri Lanka had to face quite a few debacles, I think, when it comes to tourism from 2019 onwards, where the Easter bombing happened, an entire tourism industry fell apart, and then came the COVID pandemic, and then came a political as well as social uprise, as well as a financial crisis. So therefore, the industry was suffering, and this beautiful nation, which can attract so much of tourists, was sidelined. However, I think it is about 3 months that we've taken into office, and see, I always keep saying, when we took over, we didn't see light or day for the next day or the week or the years ahead of us. But today we see some lights shedding into Sri Lanka. Things are settling in slowly but steadily, and we just believe that people would not just stop that movement going on, because we badly need Sri Lanka to get back onto our own feet as we were before. Having said that, tourism industry, what we had to do was one of the major challenges I and my officials had was to give a positive message out. As you know, lots of the media sensationalize lots of things, and I mean, unlike in Sri Lanka, it is on international media as well, where whenever we go for a promotion, what they ask is, do you have food to eat? So we say, do we look like we have been starving? And
but then these are comments that are coming from the government itself. The president himself, even the other day, he was saying that we have declared bankruptcy.
Yes, so I mean, it's no secret that we are bankrupt, but there are countries which are bankrupt, but their normal day-to-day lives, I mean people say Turkey is in a financial state, but when you go there, their industries are running. So that's how you rebuild yourself. On a financial platform, we are bankrupt, but as a nation, we are normal. I mean, do we look like people are hung on the streets or dying? I mean, there's certain messaging that has not gone correctly. Even I also had a chat with President of certain statements he made, but his statements he's making into a different audience.
And audience.
Yeah, and also for people to realize what kind of a crisis we are in. So as a president, he'll have to say where the nation is, and that's the truth. So he is an honest person, and he will talk about the truth of exactly what's going on. So that's where we are challenged, actually. I mean, we are going to WTM this week, which is the biggest tourism mart or travel mart that is happening in the world. Everybody will be there. Sri Lanka is going very strongly into it. About 80 of the industry people are participating on this show, which is a massive stall that Sri Lanka is actually having there. So we targeted few things on short term, mid term, and long term. So short term, we thought the best ideal opportunity is just to hit at India, because there are a huge population and about 250 million upper middle class which haven't traveled or wanting to travel is in India. So that's the best market that we can have, and people are tired of going to the Far East, and like they're going to Singapore, Bangkok, Malaysia, Indonesia has been something that people always have done, but Sri Lanka is a different experience all in all. You know, everybody can have everything something for everyone in Sri Lanka. So, it's very easy to market Sri Lanka. People are aware of it. It's just a confidence building, and that's our challenge. So for these 3 months, I am quite happy about our achievements, because one thing that we had to do is we had to build confidence in people to first get their aircrafts to fly to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
More than about 20 odd aircrafts pulled out of Sri Lanka due to our crises, and now I think over 13 or 14 have already started calling in, and the frequencies have been increased. So I mean, they do it knowing about the requests, inquiries, and that's how they put their flights. So
some of these aircrafts also have concerns about landing charges, right?
yes, so we had a very good conversation with the president, with the industry and the officials, and we highlighted it to him, saying that something is very wrong in Sri Lankans charging around almost $8,000, whereas in India a flight landing cost would be only about $4,000. So he said we really need to address this issue, and president immediately took steps, and he spoke to his chief of staff and told him to get all the details on it and make an action on it. So
there's still talk of protests taking place. The Aragale movement has not rested. If they do protest, do you think that that will have an impact, a negative impact on the industry?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I also was a person who was very strongly in Aragale, but now my Aragale has changed to making Sri Lanka stand up on their own feet. So the current Aragale should be not purely based on political agendas, but for the right reasons. And I don't think a protest is wrong, and protest, it happens everywhere in the world. But it's how you protest, how you, I mean, the message. And the moment these protests go off, again, there are certain entities or media institutions which will sensationalize this, again, put these things in Sri Lanka, again, is in turmoil. That would just keep our bookings away, and that's, and some can get violent, and some can get, they just want to make sure we go back to that particular situation. But I do not understand whether they even have a clue. Even if you change government, the situation won't change. It's going to get worse. So we need to stabilize ourselves before we go for an election. So I do not understand what logic is behind it. It's just pure selfish political agendas is what I see, because I'm not saying that because I'm in government. I'm somebody who was in Aragale, and this opportunity was given to the opposition and told the entire opposition to be a government.
Yeah.
That was purely, that invite was purely to stabilize the country, nothing else, and then go for election. So it's easy to say, I don't like you, so because of that I don't want to work with you. Well, you're given challenges and certain days that you don't like to do, but you had to do it for the country's sake. And I mean, I'm not happy with the people that I have to sit with. I would have rather preferred my own team that I was more used to. But there is a challenge, and in certain times when your country is in a situation and you're given a challenge, you can't be choosers. So as I said, you can't be like wanting it but then saying no. I'm as I always say, the asai by thing. You can't have a liking towards it and then pull your feet back again because you're not confident. So that's purely not confident. So what they try to do today is, I just have one more question for my farm party SJB also, to ask whether they agree with ragging. So I mean, the university ragging group is the one who's actually holding this protest, and SJB is joining it. I'm very disturbed with the SJB policies have changed today. And I mean,
but then addressing that ragging issue is also something that is in the hands of the government.
Absolutely, but there are clear culprits who've been identified who's doing it. I mean, it's all over the media, and government is trying to make all necessary actions and going to completely sack them, and they have put on so much of regulations today. But you see the main opposition going and joining them on a protest, so that shows their priorities have shifted. It's anything to make sure that the country don't survive. My one more question is, let's say, okay, we go for election in, let's say, 3 months from today. Does the IMF change? The policies will change? The tax policies they wanted, would they change? Could Sajid Premadasa bring some money that his father has kept somewhere for him that can settle this country? All bullshit. None of those could happen. It's just that we will go further behind. It's just being selfish. When you've been asked to take a responsibility and come and do it for 6 months, I mean, look at the amount of things that we got done within these 3 months. we were able to bring the 21st, which everybody said we would not. I mean, maybe it would have been toned down, but it's a positive step. Queues. We were in queues. We never realized that Sri Lanka will be back to normal. It's back to normal, actually. People are going back to school. Things are settling in so many things, even with Ranjan Ramanayaka's matter. Maybe not the full pardon, but he got out. It's just very unfair how he was being inside. But things moved on. Whatever we discussed, I saw recently on one of these websites, they said about the Easter thing, whether Manush and Harin is now dead. I want to ask one question. Is only Manush and Harin should talk about the Easter? And we spoke about it, we brought it up, but now still again today they're blaming us for not talking about it, but there's 223 more.
But isn't that because you all highlighted the issue? You kept on saying that you will ensure justice for the victims.
So where are the others who should be talking about it, making a noise?
But then you are now in the government. You can do a bigger role.
So exactly, I mean, I have taken a much bigger role. I mean, it looks like the Harin Fernando is the president then, because I have to do everything of cleaning up the mess, sorting the country, doing the, I mean, I have done my part as an opposition MP. I brought it up to the main platform. I have spoken to the president. President made a statement about Easter saying that he will get an international inquiry, which was one of our requests before joining the national or the coalition government, just to sort these issues out. We gave more than 7 questionnaires. All were taken very positively and actioned very well, except for the Easter thing. And in the Easter thing also, he made a statement and said clearly that he will put it on to a foreign country to make this investigation. So we're very confident, because whatever Ranil Wickremesinghe has said so far, he has done it for us. So, and I will, once these problems settle in, see, right now our priorities, okay, Easter is a priority, absolutely, no doubt about it. But right now I'm running around with all my effort, trying to pick the country back into the tourism, which is the responsibility I took over. Ranil Wickremesinghe also is running around. I've never seen him being so busy, but he's trying to pick this country up, and things are settling. IMF has pretty much agreed. Staff level agreement have been reached. I mean, recently we spoke to the IMF entire group on a Zoom conference at the cabinet, and they clearly said there's potential, or not potential, there's possibilities of by end of December signing the documents, and then we can go for bridge funding in January and February. Bilateral lending will start in about March, April, May. So I see the dollar can come down very soon for about 250. I spoke to a few bankers, they also predicted. But with these protests again, immediately it shifts. And they think, okay, we are all going to go back to a mess. IMF will delay it. They'll want a government coming in. I mean, imagine the damage that could be done. I mean, it's not justifying. My entire job is, I feel, if I succeed in 6 months or 7 months, which is my target is August, and if things are normal, I want to resign. I want to be back again as an MP, start my political thing that I want to, and what I believe in, and where I believe in it with, and I'll start doing politics. But it's just that we took a challenge, and we want to make sure that the challenge is achieved and faced well. But unfortunately, people need to support it. But I also have to say this. I think a lot of people do not agree with having protests at this moment, because they feel country slowly stepping in. And December, we're expecting lots of tourists to come into Sri Lanka and give a positive outlook of Sri Lanka, so that 2023 will be a year where tourists comes, can have a political issues. We can have our protest. That's a separate part. But the country's development, country's day-to-day running should not be interrupted. But unfortunately, when it comes to tourism, this impacts. So that's the biggest issue we have.
Now, while all these positive things are taking place, there's also a concern that Ranil Wickremesinghe is being used by the SLPP, that the people who are rejected by the public are now making plans to come back as well.
I blame Harin Fernando for this. Again, it's his fault. See,
for not accepting.
Number one, not accepting. And then he now says, after all of that, he sent a letter saying to give it after Ranil Wickremesinghe was about to take it. But then he said, when I said Asai Bhai, he said Lajjai Bhai, because he's ashamed to go and join. Then when Ranil Wickremesinghe took over, he wouldn't have had to take all of these people, because he invited the opposition to come and join, and the entire opposition to be one government. Then none of these people will be involved. Whether we like it or not, the 20,
So, but
200
then you agree that, or you concede that the SLPP is trying to make a comeback and they are using Ranil?
Well, I mean, if you ask me, any political party would not just pack themselves up and go. They will try and come up. That's a political party for you.
But
I
can
mean,
you sit in a cabinet where,
with
you
it,
know, individuals...
again, Ishwan, what I'm saying is, whether you like it or not, you can be in your house and keep crying and say, oh, that's wrong, this is wrong, or you either go there and fight it. And what do? I mean, if you're a spoiled child, you may not really want to. I mean, whether you win or lose, whether you're going to be popular or not, you do the right thing. And I don't see Sir Premdasa did the right thing. He did what is best for himself and his party, and for him to be the president of the country. But he did not bother about where the country will go to. Yes, Ranil Wickremesinghe is one man. Obviously, he'll be used. I mean, there's no doubt. But a man should have, I would say, the two have to be very steel, right?
Do you have
for him to take up a position with all of them around? For us to go into that, I mean, it's like Enter the Dragon. You know, you're in that situation, but you confine yourself into doing the right thing. In Parliament, yes, you need the numbers. So obviously they backed you because they knew they were part of a mistake. So they wanted somebody to correct it, and they're helping Ranil Wickremesinghe. There's nothing wrong in that. I don't see as a maybe there are individuals who are corrupted, individuals who people really have walked out of and who doesn't want to see them back in power. But what option do you have when Sajid Premdasa was invited as the entire group? I mean, asked Harsha to take finance, asked Iran to take investment promotions. Think about it. So they don't take it, and now they blame you, saying we are working with a bad lot. No, they just purely wanted to be selfish and come back into power. That is
You're so critical of Sajid and the SJB. Do you have regrets leaving the UNP and joining the SJB?
Well, I'm one of the main people. I would say I'm still SJB because I own most part of what SJB was formed for. I mean, every function that SJB took place, Sajid's 154 meetings, the presidential, even when it comes to the general election, everything was planned, choreographed, everything was done by me. So I have a major part of SJB. But the reason why we built SJB was at one point we felt that Ranil Wickremesinghe was very selfish and took decisions on his own. I mean, other than that, we never had an issue with UMP. We are UMPs. We have the center-right political view in both parties. But unfortunately, when I have been the person who started all the campaigns at SJB, and when my leader was given an opportunity to be the president or the prime minister of the country and he didn't take it, I felt I don't want to be there anymore. So that was the biggest reason. And I personally see I like Sajid. I mean, I don't have a personal issue with him, even though I saw him calling me and Manusha recently frogs for jumping and everything. But I thought that shows his immaturity also. Ranil Wickremesinghe would have seen so many frogs jumping, but he had never called any of his members frogs. So Sajid clearly shows his mentality and his ego. Also, he knows how much of work I have done inside the party, so he is affected, that's for sure. After the May 1st rally, what has Sajid and them done? Even today, tomorrow's protest, he's actually piggybacking on the Pertugamis to get a campaign in. So, but everything I have done for him is we have done it on our own, from walking from Kandy to Colombo to having that massive May Day rally. Everything was done by me. I mean, he knows everything. I mean, single-handedly. Did not even get party to spend 1 cent. So, clearly, I think more than me missing them, they must be missing me.
So what happens to your political future?
Well, as I said, I want to work only till about August, and even till today, I have not taken salary. I have not taken food from Parliament, but nobody cares about it. That's Sri Lanka for you. You do the right thing, but they don't care. So I said, I don't take, when Daragalle started, I said no salaries, no fuel, nothing. And even today, on all these trips that I went abroad, was all paid by my hand. Not even a hotel stay I have taken from the ministry. So what I would want is, I would love the SJB to ask a question in Parliament or file a rights to information RTI and they see whether we have worked from our hand or not. So, I mean, I have walked my talk, and so I want to do it till about August. And then I really believe there is a very good concept that's coming out that is actually championed by the Sadharana Samaja, Sakaru Jayasuriya and Victor Ivan and all that lot. They came and presented it to us recently, and I thought that's the way forward. You know, Sri Lanka has to be blamed, not politicians, for the 74 years. It's just that the whole concept of Sri Lankan politics is wrong, because we are divided by religion, race, ethnicities. That's where the political what do I call, the stronghold happens. That whole happens is because we are very divided. We are not a nation. We think caste is a big issue in Sri Lanka. Even if you have a Sinhala කියන rodeo කියලා. එහෙම මිනිහෙක්ට කියන්න බෑ අපි ලංකාවේ මිනිහෙක්ට. So our minds has to really change. If that child has studied, he's a successful man, he should be the president of the country. You can't divide people. That's where the political parties, තාත්තා ජනාධිපති වෙනවා අනිත් පුතා එන්න හදන, that is the fault in Sri Lankan politics. So if you want this to clear up, ඉස්සල්ලාම ආගම්වාදේ, ජාතිවාදේ, culture, this all has to change. So there is a super concept that has been made, so I want to champion that. I want to step out of my political zone and get into that. Right now SJB seems to have crowds, and Sajid has already, I think, stitched his clothes to be the president, but that is not going to be that easy, because people will realize you're just changing a face of another man who's exactly the problem that we had, and I feel that now. So I believe we have to stop this movement, because keep changing people faces. I mean, Maitri Ranili note honda naha kiyala you bring Gota, then Gota honda naha kiyala gahala elewala tawa ekkenek geyනවා. You will say, let's say you bring Sajid, that will be another mess. We need to change the system first, right? So changing the system actually is done by us, and Ranil Wickremesinghe, he's making the system change, honestly. But people who was not voted for the system change is honestly doing the system change. But Sajid and them don't want that system change, because they believe they want the power with the old system, so that they have the power. So it's very dangerous, and that's one of the reasons they are trying to collapse the country, make sure the country doesn't go forward. IMF won't give the loans, we will be more bankrupt, people will suffer more. And do you think Sajid Premdasa will be able to correct it within as he gets elected? Absolute bunkum. We will be in a worse situation. So now that the remittances are coming in, tourist inflows are coming in, things are slowly settling in, and the industry is seeing it. It's not easy. No means it's easy. The taxes are too tough. Cost of living is tough. But look at recently. What do you call cost of living, inflation, decrease on food. I mean, from 96 to 85%. So by December, we believe it will come around to about 65. So I mean, we have achieved something. So this protest is clearly to make sure that we don't achieve it and the country collapses.
What's happening between you and your state minister, Dana Gamage?
So she was appointed as state minister. That's all I know. So.
But she's criticizing you in public as well, saying that she doesn't have your support.
Well, the problem is, I believe when you are a state minister, you have to be given certain roles to play. So we first had a meeting with her, and unfortunately, without meeting the ministerial staff, she started to make certain indications in Parliament and asking for inquiries. So since she took it over to Parliament and the Speaker, so I let her have those inquiries on me, and I keep doing my work. I have no particular issue with at all. I've told my ministry secretary to support whatever things that she asks for, whatever programs she has given to us. I mean, tourism is a vast industry, so we wanted her to take over things like health, safety, tourism zones to be monitored. So we had a plan. We had the first discussion. From that day onwards, I never met her. So,
but without coordination, wouldn't there be issues?
So that's why you have a secretary, and our main secretary has appointed one of his additional secretaries as her secretary, so that we are in sync. But unfortunately, she makes statements on her own, and I don't want to respond to it. So I respond to all my critics with my work, and I'm not going to criticize or go back to them and say, point fingers, but I will perform and show. That's my confidence.
And I also need to ask you about Harin Fernando, because in one of our programs recently, she also felt that the industry, there are greater steps that need to be taken in industry, and that she's also willing to work with you if required.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, I have no, I mean, again, maybe lots of people just find me wrong, or maybe because I mean, but I've not made any statement against her, or I mean, I'm quite fond of the way she had worked. I mean, she had lots of passion, and she still seems to have that passion, and that's one of the reasons that she makes lots of statements. But see, when regimes changed, I need to work with some people that I am also comfortable. And one thing was that Kimali also comes from a background of the hotel industry, and some people may find it as a conflict of interest as well. But she's a brilliant lady, so for me, I have no issue. I told her, you can be an advisor, be on the advisory role, be involved. But how she managed it and how I want to manage it is different, because there are 4 institutions. She took all 4 onto her hand and ran it alone. But I think all 4 needs different chairmen to actually make sure that you execute it properly. And even there's a big complaint about a DG lady that had to leave. When I saw Diana, State Minister, complaining about it, it had nothing to do with me. And it was a purely SLA's matter, where she had got a 2 years time period in which she had, without taking consent, have extended and taken 2 salaries and some big issue within their administrative part of it. And I never got involved in it. And they brought me up and said that Kanta Hinsani and all kind of rubbish. So, you know, I don't want to waste my time answering.
Hasn't the president tried to like resolve this?
No, I went and told president. I said, this is rubbish. I mean, if she has any issue, just please tell her. I said, I didn't even complain for you appointing, and lots of people, some ministers will get who they want as their state ministers, but I didn't. I'm okay to work with anyone. But I rather also think when you give respect, you get respect. And I am not going to give somebody respect when they don't give me back respect. So I just ignore it. I don't want to talk about it, because I know how much of work I put in myself too. And I know how many long hours I work with. My phone, my whole chairmans, the groups, we keep chatting every day and night of how we move forward. And things are looking positive for us. I mean, even imagine Football Federation, I mean FIFA, agreeing for us to have a zone, being such a small country which has so much of issues. Those are personal connections that you made, and made it positive for us. I mean, we went and met Emirates head, who's the vice president of the commercial operations, Qatar. They all supported us. And so when you do that, I mean, for you to have tourists to come to Sri Lanka, what you have to do is you have to have air seat capacities. So now the air seat capacity is there. Then the rates come down because the competition comes in. And then the hotels will benefit out of it. And so there are different things we're going to do. And even in December, we want to make sure that Sri Lanka is a project that we want to project to the whole world. And we want to show that Sri Lanka is moving, it's happening, it's a place for you to come and have your holiday. We have a brilliant opportunity if you really look at it, because Europe is going to be very cold this time. They have a gas issue, it's going to be very expensive. You see queues in France, and in Sri Lanka you don't have queues now, so we are in a better place. The opposition wants Sri Lanka to have queues again. I mean, that's what it looks like. So all in all, I think we will do well. And it's just that
there's this fear of a global recession. I think the president also was mentioning that. Will that hit the industry?
Well, it will, but Sri Lanka is still cheap, even with the recession. So I mean, you bring $1. I mean, that's huge in Sri Lanka. So what they can get for $1. So for them, it'll be much easier for coming to Sri Lanka for long stays until the recession settles down, and they can work from home, or work from outside in a remote area like in Sri Lanka. And that's what we saw even for the FIFA. Why we did that idea came into my head was, Qatar is going to be really expensive, and they only have 40,000 rooms, but each ground can have minimum of 80,000 people on the stadium, 3 games a day. There's a massive chock-a-block that's going to happen, and those are dry states. They have alcohol, but very, very, very strict regulations. And you know, football fans are used to having a beer in the morning instead of a cup of a tea. So what we thought is, if a country plays, they have 5 days without a game, and that's expensive for them to stay 5 days. So we offered them about $600 maximum, I think, 4 nights in Negombo with the airfare. So it's like nothing, right? It's damn cheap. So we hope that it works for us, and even if it doesn't, or if it works, I mean, it's just that the positivity that we want to bring along, that Sri Lanka is better. So already we have lots of inquiries from Argentina, Mexico, those countries also in lots of recession, I mean, they're damn big football fans. So they want somewhere comfortable to have the screens, watch it, party, be drinking. I mean, that's the whole carnival culture. So we're throwing that in as well, and things are looking okay. So
but will this carnival culture also, I mean, we see steps being taken to even promote casinos now. Would that have an issue with, some of our religious leaders, socially, culturally?
Well, if you want to be a tourism destination, you need to have all of this. I mean, that's the norm. You keep your culture, your heritage, your values intact, but these are for tourists, and you have to make sure that it doesn't get unruly or uncontrollable, or a country will go into a different situation. It doesn't have to happen like that. So we all have to be mindful that we are an island nation, and islands, like us, which is such a beautiful island, we need to promote it. And casinos are a certain sector of people, not everybody goes for casinos. So it doesn't have to happen, but you need to have everything for everyone. So it's just that having it there. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
Right, we'll have to leave it at that. So much that we want to talk, but running out of time. Thank you, Minister, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for you for On Fire for this week. Till next time, stay safe.